on a Windows, on a Mac machine, if you don't have the WMV plugin installed correctly. In this, on the bottom corner there, you can see it's played correctly. The WMV content is played correctly on the website, but on the Mac machine, it just depends on the mood of your Mac machine. It's just either give you a blank screen or give you a wrong message, warning message, something like that. And right now, Multimedia merged to Adobe, and Adobe started developing the Flash technology. And it's actually everything started in 1996, but the Flash just really gained popularity after year 2003 because of the video compatibility that I was talking about. And there are thousands of websites are actually using that. One of them, the most famous one, I think, is the YouTube. YouTube is actually using Adobe Flash technology on their website. And I have an example here. It's from Stanford University. On their website, as you may notice, here on the bottom there, they have a Flash video plugin there. And how popular the Flash really is. Here is a chart I grabbed from the Adobe.com. As you can see, over 98% of the internet users can be reached by Flash content. So it's just really, really popular compared to others. And give you a more detailed review. Here is a chart I generated using the Google Analytics. For the past half year, we have over 300,000 people visited our website, and among all of them, they all have some sort of Flash plugin installed on the machine. That's how popular the Flash technology really is. And there are some terms before I go into details. SWF is literally the container for all the Flash contents. FLV is just Flash video. You have to encode it from other resources. And WMA and WMV, they are just all standard Windows Media Player formats. MP3, I think all of you guys know that, and LAMP is just a platform for me or for any of you to build up the Flash. It's just literally Linux, Apache, and MySQL and PHP ready, so you don't need to install any of them. And here's some other terms, streaming and progressive downloading. Have you ever heard about that? Streaming means it's just literally just streaming down the bits, to your machine. And whereas progressive is you have to download everything and play them. It's also known as buffer or cache, whatever. And streaming is really good for live content. And it has better protection because most of streaming server is supposed to DRM protection. But there's some downside for the streaming, because you have a very limited user. Depends on how bandwidth is on the server. You have very limited user that can simultaneously view the content. And the firewall could be an issue because most of the time the firewall will give you really headache. Whereas progressive download, you don't need to worry about firewall issue because most of the time they are using standard HTTP protocol, port 80 to get the content out. There's just perfect for me. And it's cost much less than the streaming server. As long as you have a website server set up, you don't need to. You can just use it as a progressive downloading server. But it has very limited protection, literally no protection for whatever the content you have. And here, I said on the bottom there, Flash uses these 4 protocols for both progressive and streaming downloading. HTTP, which is port 80, and RTMP is, I think it's 1935. Yeah, if I remember right, but something like that. The port number means that you have to open the specific port so that those those contents can be passing through the firewall. Otherwise, the firewall just block them. And here is a big structure, a big picture of the structural content of how the Flash works. You just literally dump whatever on the right side there into this container, and they will be deployed to both the desktop and web page. So you can just literally reach everybody. And Flash overall is good for ads. Advertisements is really a big market that's driving this technology. Animation and all sorts of things that you want to do interesting, especially the online gaming. I think a lot of people, they are doing gambling using Flash technology. Yeah, that's what I heard. But we are here in academic area. We are actually using this technology to do some interactive website designs, because that's what our students are interested in. And for the next few minutes, I'm going to give you an example of what I'm doing in the Rutgers Law Library. For the past year, we have generated over 200 hours of audios from professors' lecture or special events. And we also host 40 plus video contents from different events that's going on in the school. And we generated kind of experimental tests to use Flash technology in collaboration with the digital library to see what the Flash can do. And we also generate courseware for different professors. And here's an example. Let me see if I can get it right. So in this example, what I did was I convert a regular video tape into the WMV format, which is the capture software support. And then I convert this WMV file into FIOV file. FIOV file, by the way, is the only format the Flash player supports. And you cannot use WMV or any other format directly with the Flash player. So you have to do some kind of coding or converting. And then I bounded this Flash play code into the web page. And then I just put a password protection on that web page so that no one else can get in. Okay, here is actually this material are just confidential, so I just give you a very brief one. But that's how we are using in the law library, and we keep it as archive. I don't know why this one keeps asking this thing. Here's the Flash player, and I'm using the progressive downloading, so it's not really streaming down from my server. So you can see
Stuart Green, our guest today.
So that's how this thing works. Okay, that's one implementation on my side. Okay, that's the just be prepared. I'm not sure if this thing could work. So I just did some screen capture. And the next example is on my side also is called what we call twisted podcast. The reason why we call it twisted is because our law professors, they want some sort of podcasting for the students, but they don't want them to be downloadable. So we have to put a password protection on top of the regular podcast. And whatever the content we posted on the web page, it cannot be downloaded by the student. So it's not really a podcast, but the professors, they keep using the podcast. So I just follow them. Just to make it clear, just twist it. And it's just great. We tried it for 2 years almost, and it's great for guest lecture and exam reviews. The most recent one we have is or dean use that for bar exam review, So, and it's password protected and contents download. The way it works is we convert WMV file, which is generated automatically by this little digital recorder, and convert it into standard MP3 file. We have two ways to do that. Before, we use manual converting, meaning that we have a staff member sitting in front of a desktop, download the content, and then converting the thing. And it's pretty time consuming. And after the downloading and converting is done, we just post it on the website. And when the professor made his order, a request for the podcast, we just give the podcast, deliver the podcast in a packet like this, so the professor, they can do the recording, no matter where they are. Even I think the pickup range of this recorder is pretty good. I think of a classroom like this, we can do all the recordings, including the question asking by the students and answers. So we tried. It's pretty successful, I think. In my opinion. But the second way right now we are doing is we are trying to do online converting. So I designed a small system which can convert the WMA file into MP3 file online, and then generate this in automatically. Yeah, but I think this mic is not working. Yeah, anyhow. Here's what I call the twisted podcast. It should have a password protecting algorithm, but because I already typed in my password, so it just memorizes it. And here's how it works. It's just
we're on. Good morning. Yes, question.
Yes. Can I ask you?
Just how it works, because the starting is a little bit noisy because the professor just playing around with the recorder. So, but overall, both students and professors are satisfied with the service, with this service. And go back. And that's the WebBased Converter. Here's the WebBased Converter I was talking about. In this converter, it is still beta version. It's not really done yet. But in this page, you can see you can make an order either by the staff member or by the professor himself, to make an order online. And after you made the order on the day, on the request day, we deliver this recorder to the professor and do the recording, and then a staff member will pick it up and download the video, the audio from this device, and upload it to a server side, and do all the converting and generating automatically. And that's how it works. This is a form, and the professor can access it, fill it in. This is just testing information. And after you submit this form, 2 emails will be sent, one to the professor, whoever ordered it, and the second one is to the staff member who is in charge doing this. And on that day, after the recording, we pick it up, and you can see there are some records that has no audio content linked to it. So just click on select and upload the correct audio content to that specific record. And then a link will be automatically generated. You just copy and paste this link to the professor, and the professor can post it on the web page, or just email it to the students, or post on the Blackboard. And the same thing, just like what we did for the Twisted Podcaster, and they can access it just like that. And in order to do all this kind of stuff, you have to have some tools. I tried almost everything I can find online, and during the past year, and I handpicked some tools that I'm more than glad to share with you guys. These tools I separated them into 4 categories, but I don't know if that is accurate. If you are more expert than me, then that's share with me. Authoring tools, you have to have a way to compose the player, and you have to have an encoder to do the converting into different formats, and then you have to to have a player to represent whatever you have, either audio or video or both. And then you have to have a server software to host it. I tried mainly these. I think these two software are pretty good. One is called Adobe Flash. I think most of you will know that. But that Adobe Flash, I think, is pretty good for illustrators or designers, but not for developers. Programmer like me, I don't like the interface. They have some pretty. They have a very good interface for drawing and make animation, but I don't like that part. Flex Builder is the one I like the most. The newest version is called the Flex Builder version 3. It's just out of market. Both of them are from Adobe, and I think Flex Builder is cheaper than the Flash itself. That's how it looks like for the Flash part. And as you can see, you have drawing tools here, and you have some action scripts there, where you can just control the behavior of the Flash. And this is the interface of the Flex Builder. It's more like Visual Basic stuff. And for the encoder, if you purchase Adobe Flash CS3, which is the newest version, there's an encoder comes free. I prefer the FFmpeg. I don't know if you ever heard about that. No? There's a rumor saying YouTube is actually using it, but I'm not sure. I'm not working for YouTube, but I'm glad. FFmpeg is I think is superior because it supports multiple operating systems, and it can convert literally anything to anything as long as you know how to control the FFmpeg. Super is, I think, it's just a funny interface for FFmpeg. I don't like it. Sometimes it just takes too much CPU time, and it just frees me up. I don't like it. But both of them are free, and they are all designed for audio and video converting. The GoldWave is a shareware, and I only use it at the very beginning of when I'm developing this podcast to do some audio converting. And there are some players. That's the most important thing for you to reach your clients. And Media Player Classic, which is this one, I think the interface is not great, but it works great. But you have to install it, which is not so convenient. And the GWFLV Media Player, which is used both, I think it's used by the Stanford University, the one we just saw before.
It's also used by IMDb.
Yeah, NJIT is using that too. A lot of people are using this thing. They have a pretty good configure interface, web-based configure interface on their website. And for the server software, which is the core of the services, we use Ubuntu because Ubuntu is just LAMP ready, and I just install it. I don't need to worry about the database. I don't need to worry about the server software, anything else. The PHP is also ready. So there are two choices when you get into. There are many choices actually, but the two software that I prefer is Flash Media Server, which is not free. It's also available from Adobe.com. And the one I'm currently experimenting is the Red 5, which I think is pretty good, and most of all is free. I mean, that's the most important part. And it's dedicated for streaming FLV file and MP3 files. You cannot stream in WMV file or something like that. I will see if I can get it right. Here is, oops. I developed an online converting tool, which is still beta version. What I'm trying to do is I'm using a PHP script to convert a video online, and then store this video clip, converted video clip, into the Red 5 server root, and so that it can be streamed to the clients. Here, let's see. Here is the, I just used the Red 5 demo. Just change it. Just kind of connect it. That's the current content what we have on the server. But it's nothing else that I haven't yet. But it's streaming from my machine. My machine is very, very
Change things. Forever. There's no contact. See, to them, you're just a freak. Like me.
Really, it's just hanging out. Totally wrong with me.
That's the expensive version too, wasn't
Anyhow,
Why did you choose the Adobe Converter rather than the Red 5? I mean, if it's free.
I'm using Red 5.
Oh, okay, you are.
I'm using it.
Okay.
I'm using it. What I was saying is,
Yeah.
Adobe Converter is just so expensive
Yeah.
that I can't afford it. I'm a poor guy, so I have to use the Red 5. Go with the Red 5. And here's how the video being converted. Let's see if it can work. I already pre-configured these scripts, and if everything can work, then you should have a demo ready. Sorry for taking so long. Yep. Before you don't have this one, the test.flv. Before I start this presentation, I uploaded one WMV file into my server, and when I run the script, when I run the PHP, it's being converted just like you see there, the one previous, the previous one. And now you can see there is one little test.flv file, and if you click on it, it's just streaming down. That's one of our Supreme Court oral argument file.
Ms. Bossini, the first matter is in the matter of Harry Keith.
We are going to use it. And that's the demo. Here is the little scripts, the core. I just wrote this one. It's a PHP script. It's execute, use a shell command to execute FFmpg on the server side. And then you can do shell programming with the FFmpg, so you can do batch processing. You know, if you have a lot of file, you can just use that. And that's the demo. I don't know how many of you noticed that Flash can also do PDFs. Yeah, you know, yeah. There are actually 2 ways to do that. One is you use online services, and the other one is just you purchase your own software. By far, I didn't find anything that is free that can be installed on your own machine and doing the local converting. And I didn't find any. You can either use the Flash builder to come up with your own version, or you have to buy this product, the Flash paper. I don't think it's gained a lot of popularity. I don't think it's popular. But here is an example from pdfmenot.com. And before I start my presentation, I just upload it to the server, and that's the page they generated. And it's pretty good to share files between people who don't have the Adobe PDF Reader installed. And you know, if you don't bother to download it, you just email this link to whoever wants to share the file. Then you can just watch it. Oops. some noise. Hold on. Okay. I'm trying to get it right. I hate Office, but I have to use it. Well, still not working. I think I did something wrong. Anyhow, it's never happened. This is, I don't know what happened to it, but can't demo. But what this thing does is just literally like what we saw with the PDF meanox.com. You know, it just convert the SWF file, the PDF file into SWF file. Then you can just embed it into web page or just email it to someone else. And for the screencast, there are two methods you can do the screencast. I know there are a lot of free services online that can also do such things, but I just use commercial software instead because people in the law school they believe commercial stuff, not the open source stuff. At least that's my feeling. And the one I'm using is the Adobe Captivate, and I tried that one on top of both of them. I've been trying that, but I think the Captivate is good. It's better than the other one. And here is an example, which I did for one of our professor. You can do the screencast. It's just literally recording all the movements, the cursor movement on the screen, and meanwhile recording the voice, if you have any. Then combine them together and generate an SWF file so that you can share it with others. And there are some things that you have to be aware of. If it's not configured right, then you will have a lot of trouble with the size, the final version of the FILV file. Because usually, if you use default parameters to configure the FFmpeg, it's just a way bigger than the original WMV file or the MOV file. So you have to play around to get it right. And only Flash Player version 7 above supports the video content. So if one of your professors have a very old version of Flash Player, then you may run into a problem. And Flash Player, even though I said it's protected, but it's still downloadable in some other way. There are always nasty people or hackers trying to get it right. And Flash audio and video, I have to warn you, this thing cannot be used for archive purposes because they are just not good. The quality is just not good. Okay? I think that's all that I'm done with my presentation. And if you have any question, I can just answer. Sure.
What do you recommend for the configuration settings for Flash video? What would be good for?
It totally depends on. It's very specific. Yeah, you have to show me the what kind of file you have. Then I can just give you a suggestion. Yes.
I know it can do it. I haven't had a chance to play with it, but in FFmpeg, have you tried to do branding on your videos?
No.
Where you actually, have like a Rutgers logo down in the bottom right-hand corner.
Watermark.
Watermark, exactly.
I didn't try to do watermark because I always use my website as some sort of watermark. Plus, I think professors, they don't like watermarks on their video clips. I mean, that's the reason why I didn't do that. I think there's a possibility that you can definitely do that.
How long have you been doing?
By far, for the online converting part, I've been doing that for a year. But I've been doing podcasts for about 2 years. Yes.
I'm interested in how you organize your podcasts on your website. Do you have any kind of categorization, or how do you actually get them where people can find them?
I think the goal is not to allow people to find them. Because they are professors, they are very sensitive. They don't want me to give out these
Do you like
URLs.
public events when you have a speaker come in or something like that?
Usually we just email out the URL. The URL is generated randomly.
You have to get release forms.
Yes,
from
yes.
them.
They are very sensitive about this thing. Every speaker in the event, they have to sign a release form. So it's not that easy. Yes.
Just a plug for a free tool that I discovered last year at a different conference for doing screencasting and capturing. It's actually made by TechSmith, people who make Camtasia. And it's called Jing. I don't know if any of you have seen the Jing project. It's just jingproject.com, and there's actually just a special program that I thought they would discontinue, but it's still out there, and it's awesome. It runs on Mac and PC, totally lightweight. You can do screen capture or just capture images, and it saves them as, I believe, as SWIFT files. It's a really cool little tool, and I just verified that it was still there before I said this. But yeah, it's Jing, Jing, project.com.
Is it open source?
There's another
free.
one that's
It's
free
not
called
open
Wink,
source, but
which I think that only runs on the PC, but it's
yeah, this is available for Mac. It's universal, so it'll run on the Intel Macs, and it's also available for Windows. And again, you know, it's they call it a project by TechSmith. Who, it's weird that since they sell Camtasia, they're making this Jing thing available, but they haven't pulled the plug on it yet and get it while it's hot. I actually upgraded my laptop from Tiger to Leopard, and I didn't have to reinstall it. It's still working fine. So
Can you do the audio annotation with it? Maybe that's the difference.
I believe you can.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for the info. Any questions?
Well, I wanted to put in a plug for the JWFLV player. We're just now beginning to implement it on our site, but it supports closed captions, which is one of the few Flash players out there that does. I can pull up. I'm just drawing a blank on the caption software that I use, but it has an XML file that you can pull in with the captions on it, and you can toggle the captions on and off.
But you have to compose the XML file.
Oh, yes, yeah, and
I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm drawing a complete blank on the program I used to do the captioning. I'll blurt it out in a minute. Magpie, thank you. Magpie, and I found a really inexpensive transcription service that will send me back the text file. I load up the video and the text file in Magpie and create the XML file that pulls directly into the JWFLV player, and it works like a charm.
we can try it with our screen record or argument. Anything else? Yeah.
Could you explain more about the difference between streaming and it's sort of halfway streaming or something? I was confused.
No, streaming and progressive download. Progressive download means even though you don't notice, but actually the server is just pipe everything down to your local machine. Your file is actually literally being played locally. Streaming is actually being played remotely on the streaming server.
Saved it in your temp file.
Yes. And streaming in some ways more secure than the progressive download. Yeah.
So if you get your settings right, does the quality, is the size of the file significantly smaller than the original file? If you did your settings right, you were talking about making sure you got those right.
Yes.
Would you say that the quality for the size, you get a smaller size file whenever you use Flash, as opposed to starting with a WMV?
You have to use FMPG to play around with, because FMPG you can, for instance, you can configure how many motions for 1 second. The standard is 24. You can reduce the motion in 1 second. You can configure it for 15 frames per second, something like that. This can reduce the size of the file. That's what I mean by play around with it. And also you can reduce the ratio of the screen, the video. Yes.
Is server space and file size one of the main reasons why people go to Flash, or what's the main draw?
I think it's just more fun than it's much more fun than the Windows Media Player, because Windows Media Player, remember, even though they have something called scan, SKN, it's very difficult to play around with, and you have to have a pretty good photographer or illustrator to draw in this interface for you. But with Flash, you can just Everything is almost built in. They have a lot of effects built in.
The biggest draw is that 98.8% of people already have it, and for that 1.2% that doesn't, it's a very quick, simple install, and it's supported on most platforms. I play Flash videos on this.
Right.
It's just amazing. Well, a lot of phones, mobile phones now play Flash videos.
Yeah.
Well, what about long lectures? Is it well suited to can you create a Flash file that's really, because we found with streaming, Windows Media video streaming, that's not at all problematic.
I haven't seen any difference in it. But I did want to ask you about the Red 5. Well, actually, you answer this question before I ask mine.
I don't think there's any difference between Windows Media Player and FLV in terms of the. I mean, even if you play a bigger file size, I don't think that will make any difference. The longest one I have is roughly 2 hours.
Can you really stream a Flash video, or is it always continuous download?
You can always stream it, really. I just showed you a demo.
Oh, and what is the platform they used to stream it?
The Red 5, RED 5, yes.
Yeah, it's just in terms of the popularity of Flash, we found that's not really as much of an issue. I mean, we used to use a Windows Media server, and of course we had lots of compatibility problems because it's a standalone app. And rather than go to Flash, for various reasons, we went with Silverlight.
Silverlight
this year
from Microsoft.
Which of course no one has on their computers. But our students only had to download it once. So
what about new students? You have to keep advertising this thing. That's why.
Well, yeah. When they click the button, it says install Silverlight, and they do it once, and that's it.
But what's wrong?
The fact that the rest of the world doesn't have it doesn't matter.
Is that even Mac users or Linux users?
Yeah. Linux.
Mac has plugins.
It does support. It is support Mac. That's why we moved away from just Windows streaming, is because.
When we are doing this pre-record oral argument, we always have problems with the Windows Media streaming.
Oh yeah.
We keep receiving phone calls from different forums. They say, we can't play this thing.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, Silverlight, we've gotten away from the Windows platform issue, and just our audience is limited to our students. So once they install it one time, that's it.
Yes.
Do you know of any products like what we currently do is we'll have a camcorder set up like a digital camcorder, and we just encode directly to the Windows Media Encoder, which is free, and post it up on the web server, let people download the video content. Is there something that'll do the same thing directly into an FLV file?
I don't think so.
No.
Not
So
from
you
what I
still
know.
have that state
You can
where
try the
have
Red
different
5. Red 5 has a function which allows you to do live recording remotely through the network. But I don't think that will solve the problem, because I think you need a lot of bandwidth for that.
Your Red 5 server, does that take a pretty heavy duty server to run that, or can you run it with a large server?
I think it's Pentium 4. It's a very small one.
So you've had
my old office
off of an old server.
Yeah. But if you really want to get the most power of it, you have to have a dedicated machine.
Have you ever streamed live events off of that?
Not really. We don't do much live events.
Okay.
Have you used Flash to stream live events, or can you? Is anybody?
Yeah, we do it.
Yeah. Does it work well?
What setup do you have?
You have a Flash communication server?
FMS3.
Yeah. It's really neat.
FMS3 with a custom front end.
Okay.
Is that one good? Is that server good?
Yeah.
Was it expensive?
Yeah, but
now asking if that server's cheap.
There's also, let's not forget Darwin, the streaming server. That's an open source, alternative. Although, you're talking about you can't do FLV, then you're talking MOV, which I think is higher quality, but it's not as ubiquitous. And you deal with the player issue, then you still got to install the QuickTime player, which is fine on Windows, but it's still a standalone application. Whereas Flash can be embedded in web pages. I mean, you can embed QuickTime player video in a web browser pretty easily, but
one thing I'm wondering is what would happen, if we are going with the HD video high definition lens. Because right now we are trying to purchase a high definition camcorder. Frankly, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Because
FMS3 will actually stream HD now, but
Uh-huh.
no one's gonna have bandwidth.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Plus, the fact is that if we purchase a HD camcorder, the quality from the camcorder is pretty good, but you have to convert it to a smaller version which reduces the quality. Then that totally makes no sense for me.
I also want to put in a plug for that super converter. First of all, it's kind of hard to find it. I mean, once you find the website, it's hard to find the download link. It's really an odd website. But the nice thing about the super converter, it does have a very funky front end. The guy that designed this thing just has this odd user interface idea. But I've yet to throw in a video at it that it couldn't read and then pop back out. It comes with all the codecs bundled, and it's just amazing that it reads everything and it'll spit out FLVs. I always make FLVs and MOVs. I don't know what I'm going to make. It'll read any video from it.
But I had some not good experience with the super converter. They just keep dying on me.
It's an odd little program. It is an odd little program. And
Just to take too much CPU times to do a little converting. Sometimes it's just that, and there's no alert, no message whatsoever. The only thing you can do is just reboot.
Well, it is a front end. I use that and also a program called FLV encoder to I'll play with the settings, and then both of those make batch files. They're called FFmpeg or FLV tool, and then I'll go get the batch file and move it onto the server to do those batch conversions from then on out. So I use those as a way to cheat on not having to learn the command line for those programs, because those programs know it.
Is that all? Yeah, that's it. If you have any questions later on, let us know. I found my information through CALI website.
Oh, is it? Is it over on that side?
But it doesn't matter because our menus are.
No, we use a service and charge about the minute.
Let's copy it over. I tried to sell the office of
It's an area that I'm still fighting. I think
Basically talking about they're now getting that it's currently taken away. They're not going to like well, because
They would turn it on to start keeping their recording.
Some of them have
but they just hand money to those first. Right, yes, I know he had some, he did stuff that was against other people. And the big long movement, like if they want to she said she got lots of storage on the I can help her. They assign her a person that will help them when they need to assign her. Alright, first you say, you know, well, this is what happens when you
turn it on and I
don't like
I would say that doesn't happen.
All right, well, then what we can do, all right, go run back to the
yeah.
We've got until 6:30, so it shouldn't be, we should get these out here about 5.
Yeah,
I think so. You have to finish.
Yeah, we're just calling his encoder program.
that one was installed.
I think
Download it to my desktop. It's in
how would you find that? I'm curious. Every video shoot,
Video coder is software practice. Yeah. We use it for everything.
Is this one? Can this one?
I'm sorry, look over here. You're like a little puppy. You're doing service. I write it on my coworker. Desktop application.
You're there and I'm here, right?
I don't know. Can you get it done?
Yeah, but I was going to get moving on my stuff. It's a pretty active source project. Yeah, I just thought
I'm not here.
Your menu items.
I've been doing too many emails as well, but it's the nature of the beast.
I thought leaving my laptop on for Texas would have helped.
Too much snow.
I tried to get the boss to disallow the $10 per page access fee. It's required. Did you do the approval thing?
I did.
Thank you for
I thought that was
I
good.
recognize
Yeah, likewise. I thought it was pretty good, actually.
it is scary in how well that fits for what our tool is trying to do.
And what is that?
I've been asked to establish a CMS system in-house so that when they need the appearance change, change quickly. And I've been studying PHP, MySQL, a few other things that my brain is skipping on right now.
Right.
But
So that in and of itself is enough to keep you busy.
I was going to have to hand write to understand the system.
Yeah, no way. No, you're good. With Drupal and many other things. It's just basically pick your poison. You'll have to do other things.
Wow.
The funny part is that our website is primarily Flash. I mean, all of it. There's very little of it, but if you look at most of our web pages, there's 5 blocks, and each of those blocks has a Flash element. And because we do it that way, every browser treats it all the same. So we can use our distinctive fonts and everything else, but
That's a bigger.
the problem is, I was worried we weren't going to be able to do CMS and Flash. Well, now with Drupal, I'll be able to do CMS, Flash, CSS,
It's always
video database.
This stuff has come a long way.
Yeah. The only problem is I also do student support, classroom support, special events support.
I've only done a few short
Not
videos.
going to be Drupal support. Got too much of it. Well, not too much.
Well, there's only 3 of us.
First one of them?
Yeah, with stuff like this.
Yeah.
We've
We've got 3 IP staff for 400 students, about 40 full-time faculty, about 45 residents.
That's a lot.
Three of our
We've got 17 staff.
And so
We're servicing about 600 people total.
Seven in our.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. You run a good project.
But that's what
very
makes
useful, and then you write up the procedure.
I try to
That's what librarians do.
look, I don't want to spend a quick good of my own money, because I always want to spend too much money.
Oh, right.
And I don't want to go, well, that and my wife are having a motorcycle rally, but I was supposed to go.
So she's having all the fun.
She's having all, well, it rains on all
And I read back to read this.
Now, you gotta have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, you know, like that's what you get.
exactly.
Well, you read technology, right? I wonder if they would have gone in there.
Now, if we were in Boston or Germany,
No.
This way, we went to
Really?
yes, in the law library, because
Yeah, cool.
Almost did it.
that meant,
I had a couple of people in.
oh, it was, Samuel Adams.
One of the articles that I think have been brought to me for years, I've read the website going with the New Jersey documents, and I just put up a little online survey. Just so I can get the data, stuffing it all away, looking at it every day, and not really thinking about it much. And I mentioned it to the librarian who works in the library, and she started shouting at me. Why haven't you compiled the numbers and published them?
I decided I didn't want another file.
You know, which of course she should have yelled at me.
And, right, so I pull it up in the database and you screen it straight out.
Yeah.
It looks like a static XML file. And as it pulls it out,
But I mean, you also got, with all the questions and the answers, you have even more of an idea now about what the community was
I
concerned
think it comes
about.
out blank. And,
So, yes.
Firefox, I think it's really weird. They're not saying that. So I stripped those out. The downside is that I have to have one for the Flash player because the real XML file, and one because an HTML file is reserved from the not a big deal. Pulls them out of the database. And it very quaintly says that this media has not yet been captured.
If you'd like to have this caption, please call. Thanks very much, and I'll email you, because yeah.
You're fine.
You may, and she's fun. Yeah.
Well, I've been watching what they're doing here, where they set up an overflow room on the slide. Do something right here, and says, oh, anybody wants to see it in the overflow room, as long as you're standing around the corner. And I'm like, okay, we need to be able to do that.
Yeah, we do that for when
Yeah, well,
you're
that's what Tom actually presented on the last couple of years, getting that set up.
So what I was saying though, on the recording end, I can get under control, but on the delivery and presentation.
How do you like it in Indiana?
I like it. I've been there. Yeah, I've been there 10 months now. I was before that I was at Bio Northern for 5 years, and then before that I was at Northwestern for 9 years. Which this reminds me of something you were telling me about the university support. When I was at Northwestern, we could never figure out why the medical school preferential treatment over law school. And we found out that they were paying the university tech support double the rates. Apparently they didn't get preferential treatment.
At least that's a rational reason.
So whenever we had some mission critical thing, we had to end up paying her, double the rates to get on the priority list.
But at least I can understand that in a sense. It's a cost center again.
But it's funny because it took us a couple of years to figure this out. Why with our request, we put in a request, like 4 months later, we weren't getting
Most
it.
schools make money too, so.
And the medical school, they put in a request. We know that they would put in a request in a couple of weeks, and they were getting service. Well, why? Why? We had such a simple request, like turning on a data port or something.
I think talking to people much prefer if you can write staff do everything. University IT is don't trust university IT. When they do, it always seems to be it's a personal relationship. Because university is a lot more than your school. You're the most important person in the world. More responsive.
Okay. Looks familiar.
It's
Oh, that's
each-
school cable.
Each school.
That's going to return.
Different policy, different way of doing things.
Or do you think you're part of that? Request to change some of the links. Databases. So, okay. Which I do back, I said, that's the DLA problem, kind of stuff. Because I don't want to change it and then be gone. No one else is going to troubleshoot that. So, okay, it was something, 2 years. Do it, next day come back, if there's a problem, I'm actually there to make sure to fix it. So. But that's the summer still.
Are they all gone?
90% gone. There's a teacher still around, but they're not teaching. I think it's the ones who are teaching are gone. Doing whatever, researching or writing or vacation.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's true, it doesn't. About 10% of them are still around researching. I think, though, 4 of my liaison boards are around. And asking me questions.
Well, I can always tell them to do a new book or a new chapter or something.
Yeah.
You would hear from them 3 months and then you would dump a ton of work, 3 months, ton of work,
Yeah.
Oh, you're writing a new article, how'd you guess? You get the information, it takes sometimes Gab or Jing to go through and synthesize the next set of questions.